Hi class, so today I'm going to model how to draw an inference. Our end goal is for it to look something like this. That way we are answering all parts of the question. We have our name, we have our planning done, we've reviewed it, we know that it's going to score 4 out of 4. So let me model this for you. Drawing an inference. An inference is a conclusion made from information that wasn't explicitly stated. But to prove an inference, we need textual evidence. So, to prove an inference, we need to do this. And our inferences require one literary device, and today we are using internal conflict. So I know what an inference is. I know how I'm gonna solve the inference. So let me first start working through this problem by as simple as writing my name first. Then I'm writing the period that I'm in, and I'm writing the date. So once I have all this information, I'm ready to start. I know that it is 8th grade reading comprehension standard 1. We are analyzing what a text says explicitly, as well as drawing an inference from the text through strong and supportive textual evidence. From there, I have to answer all parts of this. Student infers how an author uses internal conflict to develop a character. Student utilized a direct quote as evidence from the text. Student explains how evidence leads to the development of the claim. Student explains the significance of the claim. So the very first part that I'm going to do is understand what I'm attacking. I need to incorporate a literary device. And this literary device is internal conflict. So I'm going to plan out my writing. I'm going to think to myself, internal conflict. Internal conflict can be like if you ever are compelled to do something or not to do something. If you are debating within yourself, oh, should I go on the trip or should I stay home and study? If I'm sick, should I go out and spend some time with my friends at the playground, or do I need to stay home and rest? That is internal conflict, that debate that is taking place in our head. And we're thinking of lots of instances in the text that we see internal conflict. Now, there's a lot of things that we can reference, but the first thing that I think of, based on The Outsiders, is Ponyboy's relationship with Derry. So, I'm going to write Derry here. And the reason being is because we know that Ponyboy loves Derry, but also they have lots of disagreements. They are also frustrated with each other or mad at each other. So here's kind of this push and pull. He loves Derry, but he's also very mad at him at times. He's frustrated with him, but he loves him. And he's his older brother, so he wants to please Derry. He wants Derry to approve of him. So in the chapter 1, I'm looking for, because we've only read 2:1, I'm looking for quotes that reference dairy in the text. And so I'm just going to pull from the text and just kind of read and find where can I reference dairy. And so I could pull from a lot of different spots in the text, but let's say that I've scanned through the text and I finally found on page 13 a quote. And so I'm going to write down page 13 and I'm going to write my quote in this area so I can pull from it as I'm writing. So quote that I'm going to use is me and dairy just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. So now that I've identified my quote, I know exactly what I'm referencing. I'm going to plot my inference, and I'm going to do so in blue and in pencil so you can kind of see where my sentence starters are and where my writing is taking place. So I'm going to put down my sentence starters to map out my writing. So I'm going to first reference the text. How does the author use? The author uses internal conflict to reveal something about the character, and we're specifically referencing Ponyboy, so I'm just underlining character. I'm going to use this in my response. So the author, I'm going to make this pretty close here. The author uses internal conflict to reveal that the character, and I'm going to pause. This is where I've introduced the prompt. Now, I'm going to write my inference below because while I introduce the prompt and lead into the prompt, I want to have a clear inference, a conclusion made from information that wasn't explicitly stated. And then below that, I'm going to introduce my quote. So the quote, I'm going to pause there because that's where I'm going to insert my textual evidence. And then I have to explain my quote to get all parts of this correct. So the quote proves that, and I'm pausing there, and then I'm writing the significance of the quote. The quote matters because. So now I've mapped out my writing. I'm going to fill my writing in so I know exactly what I'm going to say. The author uses internal conflict to reveal that the character Ponyboy, we're going to end that, desires his brother's approval. Okay, so I've stated he desires his brother's approval, but now I have to state that I understand what internal conflict is. And to show that I understand what internal conflict is, I have to state what this wishy-washiness is in writing. So the internal conflict reveals, and I'm using the word reveals because I'm referencing the prompt, reveals that despite their strained relationship, Ponyboy wants to please dairy. So this is my inference. Now I'm going to use this quote to prove that. But I have to first state the quote. So I'm going to pull from what I've written up here because it's already on there. Me and Derry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. We gotta wrap this with a nice little bow, so we gotta have the end quote. Supports the inference. So now I have to finish this by writing the quote proves that while capital P for Pony Boy, while Pony Boy does not dig Derry, he also wants to please him. The quote matters because it identifies that Pony Boy wants Derry to approve of him. So I've written the text, I have planned, and I filled everything in after stating my sentence starters, so I'm just going to read through and make sure it sounds good. The author uses internal conflict to reveal that the character Pony Boy desires his brother's approval. The internal conflict reveals that despite their strained relationship, Pony Boy wants to please Derry. The quote, me and Derry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him, supports the inference. The quote proves that while Pony Boy does not dig Derry, he also wants to please him. The quote matters because it identifies that Pony Boy wants Derry to approve of him. So this is the full planning of my inference. I'm done. This would score. Here we've got student infers how author uses internal conflict to develop the character. So I have inferred this here, and then from there I need to write the student has utilized the direct quote as evidence from the text. I've utilized a direct quote as evidence from the text. Now I have student explains how the evidence leads to the development of the claim. I have explained how evidence leads to the development of the claim. And then lastly, student explains the significance of the claim. This explains the significance of the claim. This would lead to a 4 out of 4. There we go. If you have any questions, please ask via email. I'll write my email just down here so you know what it is. So sceener@pike.k12indiana.us. There you go.